Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another live special edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. My name is Joe Kuzma, and I'm joined here on this late night by weekend at Bernie's. Bridie Roach. Brian, what's going on, man?
Dude, forget the draft. This has just been a day from hell. So, why should I ever sleep again as long as I live? I don't know.
Yeah, I know. Let me tell you, I am freaking ecstatic. I'm about to drop some real F-bombs here in this live show. Thank you for everyone who's tuning in here on not as late a night as last night, so hopefully I'm not too loopy by the end of this. But, Brian, we were talking just a little bit off air. Whew, I'm sorry. Allergies, so if we start sneezing, coughing, wheezing, my eyes are burning. That's all a byproduct of, I don't know what, the pollination that's going around, I guess. But, woo.
Joe, have you been out there pollinating? Are you pollinating?
No, my stilo stays away from anything, like, because I think I'm at that age.
There you go.
Well, we came into, what are we on? Day 2, about to be day 3 of the NFL draft. And I just got to share with you, I don't think you may have seen this. You may not have seen one of my tweets, but I think we have a live look in on Omar Khan. This guy's got cojones. I mean, he has got brass balls, man. I tell you. Now, not to say anything, there's people out there that were like, "Oh, well, why did Kevin Colbert ever do this?" Well, he did, but it wasn't just. He did. Devin Bush. He moved up Troy Polamalu. Once upon a time. There were some less than glamorous ones, like maybe Shamarko Thomas or the GOAT Landry Jones or somebody like that, but they moved around sometimes. And, so there's people who are already like, Omar's already better. Well, this was one hell of a draft class. I mean, just trading Chase Claypool to get Chase Claypool and then the Bears just dumping their whole season. So that pick ends up being number 32 is in the Dolphins losing a pick. You got to be doing jumping jacks and backflips and everything. Weren't you going to run around naked for some reason? That wasn't the pick we got though, right?
No, I said if we got Jalen Carter, I would run around naked.
No, I thought that was Joey Porter in the second round.
No, that was not when I said I'd run around naked. But look, you and I have been sort of semi doing the old pat on the back of ourselves because in multiple mock drafts, I had us getting Joey Porter. I had us getting Broderick Jones. I had us getting Keanu Benton. The thing is, I never, ever in a single mock draft had us getting Broderick Jones and Joey Porter, 1-2, or vice versa. Look, when we talked about this last night, when the draft ended last night and Porter was still there, I just could. If they didn't take him, it's because they flat out didn't want him.
Yeah.
Right. And I didn't think that was the case. I'm sure they fielded trade offers and nothing was good enough. I mean, the trade that who was behind us that traded back, they didn't get that much.
Arizona.
Yeah, Arizona. It was like, it wasn't. I'm thrilled we didn't take a deal like that and lose that on Joey Porter.
That was how many picks back they fall, like in the 40s, from 32 to 40 something, I think. Well, I'll find it in a second.
Yeah. I have not been this pleased with the draft class since I don't know when, to be honest with you. I've generally had instances where I've been very pleased with picks, but the way things have rolled right now, I mean, maybe I should run outside and dance around naked. I'm not gonna, but
Yeah, I'm with you, brother. That was one of those things where It's just a dream scenario. It just seems like, Omar, you could say what you want. There's a lot of luck that goes into this. There happens to be a deep corner class. We talked about what you can risk giving up or letting go in order for the next pick to be there. And that happened in succession the whole way along this path tonight with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Joey Porter Jr. wasn't in the green room, went back to Pittsburgh. Had to have some inkling. They may have told him, hey, if we don't trade this, because that pick, I had buddies my phone's blowing up. We're waiting at like 7 p.m. What's taking so long to make this pick? Did it really take them that long to make that pick? Like, they're criticizing how long it took them to be on the clock. The trade offers were there for sure. So they're fielding everything, and what ended up happening was the Cardinals got 41 and then something else, and 41 was too far back to risk losing Porter.
Yeah, you lose Porter.
Yeah, sure. And Porter shows up at the facility and is sitting at the desk with Mike Pursuta and Missy Matthews tonight. Like, I don't, that's madness. I don't think anything like that has ever transpired in any draft that I'm aware of, where the player is in the city where they drafted them and is just like, you know what? I'm like 15 minutes out. I'll see you there. You know what I mean? I'm surprised he didn't show up at the draft party too, where Flash is. So we don't have a third window here. Flash is kind of, I don't know.
And I'm upset. This is my wide receiver shirt. I wore it in honor of Flash because he's a like, it has this weird flashy crap on the sides. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, sure. Whatever. But there's going to be people that were starting to say, criticizing the pick. Even Andrew Filipponi, who we were just criticizing last night. He goes, I like that pick a lot more at 32 than 17. At 17, it does. It makes me nervous. It feels risky. That's because, well, I mean, every player, again, it's the scratch-off ticket. I think I'm going to use that line for the rest of my life. It makes so much sense. But the way everything fell and the way you felt the Steelers needed, we were talking about this. The trenches, offensive line, defensive line, cornerback felt like a need. In what order would that be? Would they sneak a wide receiver or something in there? And don't forget, as part of this draft class as well, that 7th round swap in acquiring Allen Robinson should also be attributed to the names that they've already gotten. We've mentioned Broderick Jones already. I didn't think Jones would be there at 17. Neither did the Steelers, so they moved up, and then they were able to recoup a little bit of what they used in order to do that. Effectively, they've only moved back about 13 spots in 2 different situations there, and now they actually have an extra pick tomorrow as well, so that's a good thing because they wouldn't have had a 4th, 5th, or 6th round pick, and they got some really lowly number 7s that are sitting at the bottom of their board, 241 and 251. So
yeah,
I feel
it's
good about
be like the joy and the happiness was today, right? I mean, there was joy and happiness in Broderick Jones being picked. No question about it. I'm thrilled that was the pick. But today, look, it's not like Khan manipulated every other team to let this draft fall this way. It just happened to fall this way. And there are a lot of other teams that had really good drafts. Don't get me wrong. There were, I think the Texans had a great draft. Whether or not they're going to do anything with these players, I think they had a great draft.
Lions had
a very good draft.
Gibbs may be a questionable pick where they took them, but the rest of them are pretty darn good picks.
Yeah. I just don't know how you could have projected this to fall any better, right? Maybe Jack Campbell is around where they took Benton, but that was like, maybe it was a maybe, but it was unlikely. And then having Darnell Washington, who, I don't want to say we've been gushing over, but we've just loved the idea of having a tackle as a tight end. And I know he's got potential knee injury thing going on, and he can wait and they can grow him, but to hell, to get him where they got him.
I know, you see all the tight ends that were flying off the board. Well, let's talk about Fitz first, and of course Joey Porter Jr., and that's what he wants to be called. That's what he was sitting there with Missy and Mike Pursuta. Yeah, that's my name. So I'll call him JP2 just because it sounds good with P2. You got P2 and JP2, so that'll work.
I'm just going to call him Peasy Jr.
You don't necessarily have to rush him on the field. It doesn't sound like the way Terrell Austin was talking about him already. This is a week 1 starter at pick 32. So you've got probably a week 1 starter as a left tackle rookie and a week 1 starter as your boundary corner. Levi Wallace will still be there. We'll see what Patrick Peterson's got at age 32 going on 33. And whether or not he's a full-time starter or he's like a spot guy and where they slide people into the slot and everything like that. Nick's commenting here and says, Omar Khan traveled back to the future and he found the Gray Sports Almanac. I think it only went to 2015 though, or 2014 or something like that. Whatever.
Where are our flying cars? I want flying cars. Where are my flying cars?
Man, there's people who just can't even drive like a regular car. I saw this lady earlier who got both hands. They were like literally at 12 and 12, not like 9 and 3 or any 11 and 2, and like her face was like pressed up against the windshield. I feel bad because she probably has very poor eyesight, which also makes me feel like very cautious being around, but she's doing like 20 and a 45. It's just like that. We're glad I don't have flying cars. My road rage would be I'd probably be dead. That's probably one thing, but
there's that.
But Porter's going to be out there on the field. This is a press man coverage. The Steelers want a press cover guy. We talked about this a million times. We were talking about if or. It's so great to have your cake and eat it too, and it just doesn't end just there. So you got to go from 32.
Let me just say something, because I'm going to add the moment of sanity.
Yeah.
I believe Joey Porter and Broderick Jones will be given the opportunity to be starters. Doesn't mean they're gonna. It's a gift, right? It's not written in stone yet, but they will absolutely have the opportunity to take those spots. No question about that.
Oh yeah. I mean, you don't draft these guys where they are for them to, do not play.
But if they don't do it, please let's not start bus talk yet.
Oh no! This team, they're completely set up to allow these guys to settle in, every single one of them. If they had to roll with Dan Moore, he was the starter last year.
Exactly.
Patrick Peterson's been brought aboard just in case Ahkello Witherspoon, if he makes the team, isn't healthy enough. He's had some injury concerns the last couple of years. Levi Wallace, I think it was out one game with a concussion. Levi's still a solid player. He's a
contributor. You hear Austin comparing him to Ike?
I did not. I didn't catch that part. Man, everything's flying hot and heavy. You know what it's like to have 1,000 screens in front of your face, especially on a night like tonight, and you're tweeting and doing all these other things. And so you get down to pick 49, and I'm just like, okay. Is Keanu Benton going to be there? And I'm like, am I just kind of like, am I full of myself?
And Charles, we're not sorry.
Yeah.
We're not sorry, Charles.
Charles is commenting over on YouTube already. He's tuning in right now. He said, it's a little late for us old men to be up. It's like, hey, pot, meet kettle.
I got him on my phone.
Oh, there you go.
I'm trying to, I don't have the fancy display that Joe has so that I can see the comments. But I cheated. I got him on my phone.
I got him here. That's because the folks that are watching can actually pull them up and they can even get them in the replay too if they want later on. So
you have to educate me how to do that. I wanted to see the replay with the chats and I didn't see it.
I actually don't know. It should have been enabled, and we had last year's day 2. Last time we went live, thumbnail that was attached to this show that should have never been, and I know I updated it. So technology's wonderful. I always say computers are only as smart as the people who use them. So, and don't worry, folks. We'll still make fun of the Cleveland Browns. Siaki Ika went to Cleveland, and Charles, I was like, hey, there's your guy. He's like, don't take him. And I'm like, yeah, now you have to admit he's not a bad pick. And I'm like, nah, he sucks. Because he's in a Browns uniform. But Keanu Benton was the one that we were originally bringing up. Charles is one of our super fans that's not a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. He's a Cleveland Browns fan. We appreciate him tuning in, and we mentioned some of our 2%ers that are here joining us late. It's a little more fun and lighthearted of a show than usual, but we'll get down to business here. Keanu Benton's the one that really got him bent and upset, and this was the one that I really liked. Mike Tomlin, his Big Ten guys, his cold weather guys. This is a guy that's built in the frame. I'm not going to call him or anoint him Javon Hargrave yet, but he is a very Jay Wobble-ish type player. That's all I keep seeing. That's all I kept thinking. Nose tackle, defensive tackle or defensive end, if you want to call it, in a 3-4. He can move around. He's not just pegged to playing right on the nose. You're going to be able to put him on some A and B gaps and spell the other people.
Austin said, we're going to put him at the nose and then let him show us that he can penetrate on later downs and be a guy that plays more than initial early downs.
Yeah, and it's a pick maybe for the future as well. And I'll be talking about that here. Well, I may as well talk it here. But 4-year player at Wisconsin, tons of games. Let's see, 24 in the last 2 seasons, so 2 full seasons, and then 7 as a sophomore, 8 as a freshman. That doesn't include the postseason. When I'm pulling this is from sportsreference.com.
Nick was asking about inside linebackers too. And
yeah,
with the kid from Tulane being gone, I'm just going to quickly tell you, I don't know if there's another guy that I think is going to be impactful that's left.
Yeah, they didn't. Just a heads up. Like, I think all of these players were visits. Like every single pick so far has been a top 30 visit. It's usually not that clear cut and defined, because I can remember maybe Sean Davis was, but Artie Burns definitely wasn't.
Right.
Davis might have been borderline, or it was somebody that they interviewed or saw somewhere else, and he wasn't an actual top 30 visit. Some of the guys they don't have to do top 30 visits for, so it's usually like your bigger schools that they hit the pro days: Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson, somebody like that, right? So like Drew Sanders in Arkansas, like I was really like stretching my brain here to think, did they go there? I don't think so.
I don't think they did.
I know they didn't go to like Northwestern to look at Skoronski, because they weren't interested. There wasn't anything there with Skoronski, but Broderick Jones came in. Joey Porter Jr. was a quote local visit, because Penn State closest college, even though it's out in the middle of nowhere, but Nowheresville State College, Pennsylvania. I'll make fun of them still a little bit, even though I don't consider them a real true rival to Ohio State, but yeah, Benton, a lot of these guys, multiple year players. I think was Porter junior that came out a little early here, or was he a 4-year? No, he was also a 4-year player. So that's something that the Steelers typically value with these picks. What was I going to say? But Benton, like instantly, what you had some guys that were pretty much not necessarily just undrafted, but practice squad guys as your nose tackle types with Montravius Adams. Okay, for depth. Brandon Feheko that they signed, same thing. Armon Watts, same thing. Like, these guys were all in that sort of category, kind of floating around in the ether. Weren't guys that were they were trying to cling to a roster. So by the time you get to these picks, I didn't think linebacker was going to be a bigger need there. I saw the hole at corner. Definitely, there wasn't even like really a swing offensive tackle on the roster, and identified there too with the nose tackle and some of the depth we mentioned just yesterday. I was banging on the desk for Keanu, and I was banging up for all of these guys. It's crazy. I still can't believe it's like surreal that all of them are now going to be Pittsburgh Steelers. So Keanu, 10 sacks last year at Wisconsin, by the way. So this guy, he could win. Yeah, he's a winner. I mean, he's let me see. I had his actual 315, 6'4", 350, 3,000. Yeah, 3,000 pounds. He's a ton and a half or whatever. I don't know what the math is on that. So don't call me out on it. But I mean, it's just I'm stuttering actually, because I just can't get the words out to express. You get down, you're waiting for pick 80. And okay, who's left on the board? And you're looking at all these things. Okay, Drew Sanders comes off. I think Simpson came off. Some other tight ends other than Washington come off. All of a sudden, there's a little birdie that comes out, and it's like, oh, he might have a knee problem or something like that. And I'm like, okay, well, I didn't want to take him there where Benton was taken, and I don't think Benton ends up getting all the way down to 80. But maybe if the Steelers felt now other tight ends are going. Everybody's kind of scared off. We can give this guy, if he's tight end 3, he's probably not active. He's not getting a helmet on game day. So if he needs time to recover, recoup, and work him into this system. But remember, Zach Gentry is just a 1-year signing. Pat
Yep.
Freiermuth is a concussion away from missing some playing time. He's had some trouble with that. Hopefully, knock on wood, nothing that's very career threatening, but yeah, knock on your head. There you go, Brian. That's that's so politically correct. But no. Like they're, I don't want to say oversensitive, but the world has changed as far as the gladiator type thing with the NFL. They're not just going to let you play if you say, well, I feel good. Well, what's your name? Fred. No, Pat, your name is not Fred. But let me play, coach. You know what I mean? They're not going to do that anymore. So these guys have protocols and stuff, and they're going to sit them. Whether that's a raise a red flag, it'll at least preserve him if he does have some type of issues. You know what I mean? 15 years ago, that probably wasn't the case. And well, let's not even talk about the 70s. So Darnell Washington, Mike Tomlin loves his large human beings. We said that.
We did.
Brian, throw this guy in the run game, pass game. Oh, man, put him next to Broderick Jones. Why don't you now with Isaac Suamalu? That's going to be something.
It's just like, hey, I know you. All right. I mean, I was definitely banging the drum for Darnell Washington simply because I like, as I've said it over and over, I like the idea of having a tackle as a tight end. Then we don't need a swing tackle. We just, if you now add another tackle out there, right, you go really jumbo. Oh my gosh.
And it's going to be Dan Moore, a guy who's started the last 2 years. He's not just some chump either necessarily.
That's crazy.
Especially as in that jumbo package.
Who's the kid from Purdue? Wide receiver from Purdue. Because I'm just telling you.
Charlie Jones, was that it?
Charlie Jones.
Yeah.
Just watch. You watch tomorrow. Watch tomorrow with that pick they picked up.
Well, I wasn't really jumping into the day threes, but somebody already tweeted at me.
I have to say these things when I think of them, because if I don't, I'm old now, and it's 2 nights in a row that you've kept me up past my bedtime, and I need to say them when I think of them, or I'm going to fall asleep and not say it.
Well, that's good. Get it out there. We don't have a topics bar. We're running free and loose. Somebody tweeted at me already. Okay, what happens tomorrow? What quarterback goes 7th round? And I'm like, well, I'm going to take one of the 2 guys that actually visited the team, Clayton Tune from Houston and Jaron Hall from BYU. And it'll probably be the guy from BYU if he's there or even undrafted. I mean, that's the way everything's fallen so far. It's been guys that have visited. And why else would they have like some, these aren't like, anybody that would have been taken so far. A lot of noise, Brian, about Will Levis too. And I think that's where people were sniffing around with the Steelers in that pick.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
Obviously, with how it played out. But that's, I mean, obviously, Nick is saying there's a little bit here. There's some panic, like inside linebacker. No, there's not panic. They signed Landon Roberts, Cole Holcomb. Both were team captains.
And let me, like, I know you, because Nick has said he's a little iffy on Landon Roberts. I like Landon Roberts. I think he can grow into the role and take on more responsibility than he had. I think he's going to surprise a lot of us. And the thing is, Mark Robinson, just watch out, man. Give him maybe a year. And that's the whole point. You get Cole Holcomb, you get Landon Roberts. Mark Robinson is sitting there. Mark Robinson was so raw, and he was getting playing time by the end of the year, and it wasn't out of need. Right? It's because he was earning that playing time. You watch Mark Robinson. He's gonna be a stud. You just wait.
Well, need also matchup. Obviously, yeah. I mean,
absolutely.
They weren't too worried about the Browns and Ravens doing too much there. I think it was funny though, like of the wide receivers, like you were saying, yeah, Charlie Jones was he's one of the later ones. Jaden Reed, Bryce Ford Wheaton, West Virginia. But like Cedric Tillman, Jonathan Mingo, those were the guys that were looking at. And Tillman ended up going to the Cleveland Browns. So I'm talking to my buddy, one of my best friends. I got the sign. It's up. You can't see the other half, but it's House Divided, Browns Steelers, in case anyone's new here. Half my friends and family are Browns fans, and this guy was the best man in my wedding, and we're talking about draft tonight, and he's talking about, I was like, when do you guys pick? Do you have a pick today? And I'm needling them. And he wanted Hyatt. He wanted Hyatt from Tennessee, and all of a sudden, what was it? The Giants was it? Or
Yep.
they jumped
Or,
up.
I don't remember. Somebody jumped up and got him.
Yeah, they jumped up, they grabbed him, and the F word started spewing on my end of the conversation from him, and it was just like,
Well,
I'm like,
actually,
geez.
I think they got a nice player in Tillman.
Yes, but with Jalen Hyatt and the Giants, what was said was that Jimmy Haslam like telegraphed the hell out of that, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, our stupid owner is a big fan of said he's a fan of Tennessee and wide receivers. And there you go. Tillman goes with the very next pick, and he's like, WTF. Well, he wanted the more speed guy than the possession guy. That's what he wanted. And I was like, well, you got maybe a Jarvis Landry light there. I don't know if Tillman could do all the special teams magic that Landry had, but he didn't drop very many passes in college from all the reports and everything that I saw with him playing. So,
and Charles, the only reason I said a wide receiver is because we always draft a wide receiver, and if we don't, I will not understand the world.
Yeah, and somebody else mentioned, Calvin Austin III. Yeah, of course. If you've been following all of our shows in succession, we've mentioned some of that. Miles Boykin just returned. Allen Robinson was just added to this roster. So the Steelers are they're pretty top heavy here. Deontay Johnson and George Pickens. When they add a third wide receiver, it'll probably be somebody like Robinson or Calvin Austin III. Anthony Miller might get into that conversation. Miles Boykin is the special teams gunner. And speaking of gunner, Olszewski is still there. Whether or not he retains a role on the team, special teams, he probably comes to camp at the very minimum. I thought they would do him a solid and probably have released him already. So any other wide receiver pick is probably somebody that's probably going to hang around and be there, like practice squad type guy, you know what I mean? Remember,
absolutely.
like DeMarcus Ayers, like, for example, that's Cody White, the way he is and has been the last couple of years. Somebody you could call up on game day in a pinch if somebody's hurt. That's probably what they're looking at as a day 3. As far as the 4th round pick, I haven't the slightest clue where they could go.
Somebody in
Maybe
the comments
edge.
talked about Clark Phillips. I mean, if he falls, Kylie Ringo, if they fall. They could double up on corner, but I agree with you. As I said wide receiver because they always draft a wide receiver somewhere, but edge makes the most sense because honestly, they have no depth at edge right now.
Yeah, and I've got a name, MAC player.
I've got a name too.
5-year player.
So does Jim Croce, my friend.
Oh yeah,
he's got a name.
Oh, that's great to know. Anyway, Brian, it's starting to get late.
Nobody's getting that reference, right? That's like old 70s guy. I mean, I know everybody knows who Bad Leroy Brown, right?
Out there.
You know who Jim Croce, but okay, nobody's getting that reference.
I mentioned the Eagles the other day, and they broke up before I was born, or I was like 1 year old. I think I broke up in 1980, and I was born in 81, man. And so just mentioning like Don Henley and stuff like that, it was like, okay, look, the whole Miami Vice thing, I knew, like I was reliving that. He did one of those, or was it Don Henley or Glenn Fry? I'm sorry, it was Glenn Fry.
It was Glenn Fry.
Glenn Fry did the Miami Vice, the other theme that Jan Hammer or whatever didn't do. So anyways, Carl Brooks, Bowling Green, 5-year player out of the MAC, highly productive. Could be a guy who's played at 280, played at 300 pounds, and a lot of snaps. You know what? Let me find the PFF big board because they actually had the snaps where they like line up on specific. They had it all like detailed. So let me see if I can find it real quick and look up Killer Brooks here. That's actually an old wrestler reference that you wouldn't get. Killer Carl Brooks. Yeah, you wouldn't. But anyway, Carl Brooks lined up a gap last 2 years, 4 times total. B gap a little bit more. It's probably close, just shy of 100. You got about 500 snaps over the tackle, and about 6 to 650-ish outside the tackle as a dude that is, how big is he? 6'4", 300 is what he's listed. So, and he had a very, yeah. And they gave him a 93 overall grade with 69 pressures on the season.
Nice.
So the reason I bring that up is 1, he was a visit. 2, he could be available tomorrow, 4th round. Right. Or they move back and they continue to play the shenanigans that Omar Khan's been playing. And luckily they got this pick. It's like, hey, they moved back. They still got Darnell Washington. Super happy about that. And then they added another pick, moved back 13, and essentially just moved back 13 picks from their 4th round pick that they used to move up 3 to get Broderick Jones. Masterclass stuff here. Really good movement for the first year GM and assistant GM with Omar Khan and Andy Weidel. But yeah, I saw Carl Brooks, and the reason I'm thinking this, I was talking to the professor. He was gonna try and join us tonight, but I think it's past his bedtime. So
wait, he's young.
He's much younger, but he works some crazy hours. I know you do too, but we're talking football hours.
Well, that's a little different.
Brian's probably still working right now as we speak.
I was up until the minute that we jumped on this podcast. I've spent the last 12 hours fighting with stupid installers. Oh, well.
Yeah. You know what? No, what was I going to say? You're not an EMT or a paramedic or anything like that. But the reason I mentioned Brooks is Mike Tomlin was very non-committal about the Marvin Leal. So you add a guy like Brooks, and he's listed as edge, but he's probably more defensive line. Would he be more defensive line for the Steelers? It depends if he adds. He don't really have to add weight.
Doesn't have to add weight to do that, but if he drops weight, he can be more edge.
But Tomlin was very non-committal about the Marvin Leal and whether or not he would be an edge. Somebody asked him that in that post-draft presser. And he didn't give an actual answer. And maybe they saw something in Leal last year and where they were forced to use him due to injury as edge, and they really weren't sure what position he may fit in when he was drafted. There was a lot of question about that. He would have to put on weight to be there. So if they add another body, I know somebody in the comments that says something like basically rest in peace to Isaiah Loudermilk. I don't think he's like chopped liver here, but they're upgrading. They know Cam Hayward's a little longer in the tooth. Larry Ogunjobi was banged up some.
Hush your face.
They need. Hush my face. Knock the wood. Like play him like drums, right? So that's basically
eternally young, eternal youth.
Yes. So that's basically that's the one that like really stuck out to me. Just because of the visits and the availability. I mean, Atuli to Piloto, he's already gone. Robert Beal out of Georgia. I don't think Beal. I'm gonna look real quick, but I don't remember seeing his name either. I think he was a little bit later, or to be a day 3 guy. Maybe somebody else that could be somewhere, even if they add him like extremely late. It's a possibility, maybe. You never know. It's after the 4th round, and you start to get a kicker was already taken. Okay, so
what?
Yes, the 49ers. You may have missed that. It was right at the end. It was at the very, very, very end here.
Somebody took a kicker in the 3rd round.
99 in the top 100.
99 soft luff balloons.
Yeah, 36th pick of the 3rd round. I mean, the 49ers had picks to burn here. They had like 3 or 4 here, and I think they jumped around a little bit too. But Jake Moody out of Michigan. Okay, whatever. You know what I mean? I'm not like, yeah, he was like 3 or 4 from the very bottom of this. So just so you know, kicker was taken. So some of this becomes a crapshoot as you work your way further along into this draft. Steelers took a long snapper in the 6th time.
Some of this, the rest of it, you get past day 2, it's a crapshoot period.
I know.
I mean, it's sort of a crapshoot from day 1, but
no, there's some truth to that. So I'm pleased with all of these picks. Washington doesn't have to be a tight end 1. He can grow into maybe a tight end 2. Maybe plays like 5 to 10 snaps as a rookie. Maybe he gets in some packages. Maybe he sneaks out and catches a touchdown pass with his gigantic frame. How big was he again? I gotta pull him up again real quick. For some reason, I'm thinking
19 and a half feet tall.
6'7". 6'7", 265.
Oh, wow. 265.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Charles really wants us to make fun of the rest of the AFC North. I don't know. I mean, the Bengals, their draft, that's okay. I mean, Battle, that was a huge gamble with them moving back and still holding to their board with Battle because that was the safety out of Jordan Battle out of Alabama.
Alabama.
Yeah. DJ Turner, Michigan. I wouldn't have been pleased with him. Oh, not over Joey Porter. Let's put it that way.
No.
That's who you're probably looking at if you don't take Joey Porter at 32, which is extremely smart there. Brown said Cedric Tillman and Siaki Aika. Yeah, those guys are okay. I'm okay with that. With Baltimore, the rest of the Baltimore picks too. Zay Flowers, Trenton Simpson. I wasn't. There's some people that are talking about it. That reminds me of like a Mac Wilson pick for some reason. I'm not terribly excited over that.
We'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah,
they do have a tendency of developing linebackers.
Oh, do they?
We'll see.
Is that why they had to trade for Roquan?
Well, they have a history. They do, but they leave. They develop them and they leave.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah, Derek Watt has not been re-signed yet. Connor Hayward is a bit undersized to just be a tight end on his own. He's more of an H-back, folks. So that's where Darnell Washington does fit in. Darnell Washington was a very late visit to the Pittsburgh Steelers facility. Like, they canceled somebody like DeJuan Jones out of this, who's still floating around, by the way. You want to talk about a double dip? I still don't think that they probably weren't pleased with this pro day, and that's one of the reasons it got canceled. But I think they also caught wind of maybe the Washington injury, and they had to see it in person and check the medicals and cut through the noise in order to make sure, is this a guy that we want to draft? So I don't think he's going to get 0. We'll see if the Steelers end up issuing it. But Connor Hayward, just for reference here, big brother Cam Hayward is 6'5", 295. So talk about Carl Brooks, right? Connor Hayward, 6 foot 230. And if you take a look at the other tight ends that are on the Pittsburgh Steelers roster, Zach Gentry is 6'8", 265, and Pat Freiermuth is 6'5", 258. So these guys have got a half a foot on Connor and probably anywhere from 25 to 40 pounds more on their frame. It's just two different styles, two different, like, creative players, if you will, if you're playing a video game. They're not in the same mold. Now, does that mean that Hayward could probably fill in and instead of having like two guys, like they have had two guys, it's like a fullback or whatever there. Yeah, he could play like the 5 snaps or whatever that Derek Watt was doing. Who's to say Derek Watt doesn't come back? He's still floating around in space too. Yeah. You never know with these type of things. But looks like, so the winners tonight, Brian, aside from us, by being 100% right all the time, and this is the only show you should ever watch or listen to because we know all the soothsaying stuff. We have the Gray's Almanac, edition 2. No, I would never kid.
Jerry's already making me laugh by saying constipated. So
it's the real winners. Kenny Pickett, Najee Harris. Yeah, because you could be able to run the ball, and running the ball is the quarterback's best friend, and you just gave him a very large target as well, and you gave him a blindside protector. The defense adds some more beef on that line. Add yourself, hopefully, what is a shutdown, lockdown corner. You have an island on one side of the field.
Yep.
The inside linebackers, I'm not worried. You got Cole Holcomb was a play caller, like I said. Both those guys were captains. Landon Roberts is like a Vince Williams or a Lawrence Timmons. You know what I mean? He's going to be able to play. He's a thumper. I'm not overtly concerned with him. He has the shorter of the two contracts. It's something you could address possibly next year as well. But they just didn't show any interest in the inside linebackers. There's still some interest in wide receiver that's there. They showed an awful lot of interest on both sides of the line. Maybe that's where the 4th round still goes. They may still add to one of those two areas. Can't say one way for certain or other. And the wide receiver room is just packed. So like I said, it would probably have to be a guy that they tried stash practice squad, or at least they add to the roster. You never know what injuries are going to happen when you're in camp too.
Exactly.
So
nope, you never know.
I think that's there. But I don't see like running back tomorrow.
No,
they didn't look at any running backs. They had literally zero interest in any running back. The only tight end they even had interest in or brought in with the visit was Darnell Washington to begin with. Yeah. To begin with. So some late pick quarterbacks. Like I said, a couple of the edges, those guys like Thule and Anaduke, Uzoma, they're already gone. Almost all the corners they looked at are gone, with the exception of Darius Rush out of South Carolina. So if they were to double dip, and we're talking about Levi Wallace, Ahkello Witherspoon, like, is it enough? You throw another guy out there to like kind of stash. Let's talk about that real quick. Typically, how many safeties do they keep? Maybe 4.
Yeah.
5 tops. They may have had 11 defensive backs last year, right? So if you're going in that direction right now, so just the safeties, Minka, DeMonte Casey, Keanu Neal, probably Miles Killebrew, and Trey Norwood. So there's 5 there, right? And then you're looking at the corners. So off the top of my head, Pat Peterson, Levi Wallace, Ahkello Witherspoon, James Pierre,
Joey Porter.
Now Joey Porter. There's 10. Arthur Millette.
Yep.
But doesn't mean somebody on that list isn't expendable. So maybe they do add. Somebody's talking about who might be a better player, Brian Branch versus Joey Porter. Not the same function, not the same roles, I don't think, at the NFL level. I don't see Brian Branch are still trying to pick whether or not he's a safety. Could be a nickel corner, dimebacker type. It's tough to say. Maybe he's like Cam Sutton. He plays all over the damn place. Who knows? So I don't like making a leap out of that. I actually don't like any of the projections yet. Anyways, the reason I could be optimistic right now, I heard somebody say this on the radio earlier today too. I can't credit who it was on NFL Network, but they were like, maybe it was Charlie Weiss, because I like Charlie Weiss. That's probably who I heard. And they were just like, why are you upset? You're not going to know what this guy is like for another 3 or 4 years. Then you could see, you can't call him a bust yet. So we will see.
Somebody says for sure.
Norwood's gone. Norwood was a 7th round pick. Didn't play like it initially. Kind of played like it last year. You never know. You just never know. That's somebody, again, you take a flyer on, you see what they end up playing like. And it's somebody you can upgrade from. Does that upgrade come in the 4th round? I don't know. So
most of the guys that you draft on day 3 are special teamers, right? On the rare occasion, one of those guys makes an impression and becomes a starter or more of a contributor than a special teamer. But most of these guys are mostly going to be special teamers.
Charles said, should have done like the Eagles and drafted the entire defense from Georgia. Actually, all 4.
I would have happily done that. We weren't drafting at 10.
Wait a second. All of the Georgia players went to one of the 2 Pennsylvania teams tonight. All 4 of them. Yeah. You got Washington. Well, I shouldn't say just tonight, but so far, right? So Broderick Jones and Darnell Washington. I'm trying to think who the Eagles had. It's not off the top of my head right now.
Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith.
There you go. Yeah, Nolan Smith. I can't, for whatever reason, it's kind of like the kicker pick later tonight. That was one of the last picks, and I was starting to work on the show and set everything up. So I'm not going to remember that now. I'm going to be like, is Nolan Smith still out there? He would be a hell of a value pick. Oh no, he went on day 1. Somebody that you like completely missed. It's hard to say which one you like the best from tonight, Brian. But I mean, it's hard not to like any of them.
I mean, I think I can't help but like Joey Porter Jr. the best, right? And it's not even because he was the first one picked. It's because of the bloodlines. It's Peasy's kid, right? There's history there. There's family there. I gotta like that. But that being said, I'm just psyched. I have some Tomlin in me, and that I like these big giant dudes that just come around and do stuff. So I like Keanu Benton, and I like Darnell Washington.
I do too.
I like the idea of Darnell Washington, Broderick Jones, Isaac, Mason, James. I just like them pummeling the crap out of people, and letting Najee have a tremendous season. So I'm going to go with Peasy's my favorite pick because it's Peasy's kid. But maybe it's really Darnell Washington because of the value in getting him at the point where they got him.
Especially if he could be, if there's nothing that's a glaring medical issue, I tend to think that they did their homework on that. I like betting. I don't know what it is, man. It goes back to even the older Madden games. I was never very good playing with any of the coverage players in the video games. Give me one of these hosses on the defensive line and let me just take the big snack, for example, and just rush or try and bull through. I like playing with Cam Hayward if I play these days. Although I will take TJ. I'll take TJ, but then sometimes you have to cover with TJ. But no, you actually don't. You just hit the sprint and you're full on with the stick and you're bull rushing. So it's hard to not like any of these guys. Was there anything that was somebody asked about Carl Joseph? He's not on the roster. He wasn't re-signed.
Wasn't re-signed. But it doesn't, there's just like Watt, just like
they're still there.
The rest of the ones, they're still out there. They could be re-signed. It's possible. It's only so much room, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's still some holes.
XFL season's not over with yet. USFL is going to be playing. They can fill some holes there. Or at least camp bodies guys are going to have in that'll compete.
They're going to put it. There's going to be an edge rusher somewhere. So if they don't draft one, they got to find one someplace else. They can't go into the season without a little more depth at edge rusher. So
there's been a lot that's been thrown around with these names too. A lot of people had them in a top 50, top 40, top 33 or something. I think Chris Carter.
Hey, did you hear AB's going to go play for the Ravens now?
Oh dear Lord! Somebody actually he said something about returning to the NFL, and then somebody had a very slick comment right underneath it that said something about, "Well, I'm glad to see that you finally got your season tickets for the Ravens," and it was absolutely great. Somebody behind you, or somebody was asking if all your helmets were real too.
Every one of them.
Side off here. Yeah.
73 full-size helmets. Yeah.
That's insane, man. That's quite the investment. And
I don't have enough room. I got to figure out what the hell to do with them. Who wants one?
Hey, I don't have a helmet here yet. I don't even know if I have room to put a helmet there.
Don't you have a kicker's helmet?
No, I have the kicker's football, which you can't see it. It's like right above the Jack Lambert picture here. Sometimes when I have the alternate camera angle, which I might pop up real quick just to show you that. But yeah, I still only have the 2 signatures on it. I got to get Jeff Reed. Talk to Jeff Reed every so often, and he owes me one here, so that'll eventually happen. So it's getting late, folks. Anything that was a big surprise to you at all tonight? I mean, everybody talked about the Steelers trading, and they did. It didn't really surprise me. Any of the other picks that stood out?
I told you what the hell I was doing all night.
Oh, that's true.
I barely knew we drafted Darnell Washington because I'm sitting there working all night trying to pay attention. I got the draft up on my computer, right? But I also have Slack up for work on my computer. I'm in a Zoom meeting for work, and I'm trying to get all that done and pay attention to who we're drafting and when we're drafting. Totally missed the Darnell Washington pick. Had to catch up on that later. I have no idea what the hell else went on.
Hendon Hooker went to the Lions.
I knew that. I actually did know that. I knew Will Levi Strauss got drafted. I knew that Hendon Hooker went to the Lions. I knew that Drew Sanders got picked before we could pick Drew Sanders if we were ever going to, which I don't think we were. I knew the kid from Tulane, Dorian, I knew he went. But that's how many picks went tonight? 60? 65?
Yeah, there was quite a bit. It went out to a total of, what was it down to?
99.
102. 102.
102? Oh, it's over 70.
Well, yeah.
So, and I maybe heard 7.
Well, I've got one for you. Just one observation at the very end here. Josh Downs, wide receiver, North Carolina, went at pick 79. Indianapolis Colts, they were moving around the board quite a bit, jumped back in this and grabbed 79 from the Washington Commanders, okay? And during this draft process, Downs had been quoted as having spoken with Mike Tomlin, and Mike Tomlin had made a comment about him having one of the cleanest workouts that he had ever seen as far as during this draft process, right? So in saying that, the Colts went in and got him, and then all of a sudden the Steelers trade out of that pick right next. I'm thinking here, got the quick goat thinking. Here you go, Brian. There it is. It's up there right above my head here. That's
Joe,
Swaysham and Boswell.
Have you been using the weed whacker, my friend? You got a little nose hair things going on there.
It's late. Got a little bit of the 5 o'clock shadow going. Maybe it's more like the 10 o'clock shadow.
Got to get the old Manscaped tools out, my friend.
I use the Manscaped tools quite a bit, but you know what? They don't. They're not currently sponsoring the Steel City Underground podcast for me to say that, so I gotta throw it out there. So it won last one. You know what? There's a couple of questions that were in here. Somebody mentioned Quincy Roche. Yeah, he's there, still kind of developmental depth. I don't think that's the guy you want coming off of the bench as your top edge rusher at this point.
It is not.
No. And any info on Mason Rudolph? And that was kind of interesting. This came up in the back rooms earlier today as well. We were saying if he would be amicable to coming back to the Steelers as a QB3, and why the hell not? And one of our newer contributors, Mark's already great. He's a fire plug. And Mark was talking about, well, he's not necessarily this big mobile guy. He's a pocket guy. There's nothing wrong with being a pocket passer in the NFL, okay? Everybody wants the flashy toys and the guys that are always on the move and on the run. And I understand that the game evolves to a certain degree, but overall, you still got to be able to make those passes in the pocket, okay? You got to have a clean pocket. Even the most mobile of players, if they don't even have 2 seconds to throw, what the hell does it matter? Look at Mitch Trubisky. He makes like one read and just, all over the place, like scared a deer or something. So if Mason wanted to come back, they want to bring him to camp. They want to sign him as a QB3, and he's making like $1.5 million or something, whatever the minimum is probably for him in his position. I'm all for it.
You've given Mason the opportunity to go out and find what his value is, right? And if his value is not what he thought it was, and he doesn't want to go someplace else and be the second to third string quarterback, and he wants to come back here because it's what he's known, I have no problem with that. I've always said all along what I think Mason is a backup quarterback, and I'm fine with him in that role.
I'm good with that. Like I said, a lot of the venom from the fans, probably unmerited just because of how lousy the rest of the cast was in 2019. Good stuff.
Water.
Hey, guess what? So's this one. So the Tervis Cup. Folks, that'll do it for us. Thank you for joining us live for this show. We'd like to do some more in the future. Somebody asking about Leal being an outside linebacker. Rewind a little bit when you have an opportunity for the replay. The audio version will be up everywhere you can listen to as well if you need to take it portable with you and you just don't have to be forced to watch. I don't think everybody realizes we're everywhere. iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, everywhere, Brian. You're looking around.
We're everywhere. We're on the
everywhere.
The interwebs. Hey, let me ask you a question. This is a holdover
Pandora.
question from last night. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Did your anus sweat today?
At 32, not as much at 49.
There you go.
Now, I still loved and wanted Washington, but I really wasn't sure with that news leaking that he was going to be the guy. And Ari Mirov, who is the My Sports Update guy who does the things for PFF now, I actually tweeted at him and I was mad because he spoiled like 2 of the 3 picks tonight. And I wasn't even trying to look at them, but I get all the Twitter alerts from all the various things and people are retweeting it. You know what I mean? And it's just unavoidable. I couldn't even just shut Twitter off because I want to be able to still be able to do my job here. So anyways, folks, that'll do it for us. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe and join us next time on a Steel City Underground podcast. Sometime earlier next week, we'll cover, I guess, we'll see if there's any other moves. There's no saying that just because they have 1 4th rounder that is currently at, let me pull it back up, what they got. I don't actually think I said what the 4th rounder was.
Uh-oh. We got an M squared comment. And Nectarine, you're absolutely right. That dude's the pits.
So let me see. I have no idea what's going on here, but pick 132 in the 4th round and then 241 and 251 both in the 7th. Okay. They could still jump into something. Who's to say that they won't? So, Oh, that's not really a surprise. There's some comments about other shows. The Twins, those guys are off the hook, man. So it's not surprising to me that they might be. See, I didn't drink. I love beer. I'm a craft beer guy. It's even in my profile on Twitter. I have an Untapped. If people want to follow me, reach out, send me a DM or something, tweet at me, and you can see all the different beers. I probably have like 4,800. No, I might be over 5,000 now. Unique beers I've had since I started using the app. I try everything. I like it, but I'm not sitting here drinking tonight because I'd already be asleep. Beer makes me sleepy. You know what I mean? So I was like, and not only that, I got to have a clear conscience, a clear mind to bring you the best product that we can and try to be a little bit professional. You know, maybe I won't. One of these days, maybe I won't. Obviously, I like beer. You could see. I mean, not that I only get Bud Light because they do the Steelers things. And Iron City, that might be blasphemy to somebody if I call it swill, but it's just a step above the Bud Light waters as well. So, and then Brian just drinks real water.
I only drink real water, and the only way I'm getting crazy on this show is if I light a blunt. So,
man, we're gonna go all out for it. Steel City Uncensored. That's what we're gonna go towards. So, anyways, thanks everyone. We love your comments. Thanks for commenting. Don't forget to do all of those great things. Tell a friend. Who used to say that? Somebody was like, "Tell a friend." Don't forget, tell a friend. I think it was one of the local car dealers, actually.
I don't know. You sound like Forrest Gump when you're saying it.
Oh, so did he. So I mean, it's just we had this lady that was local, car dealer. I know the name. I don't even want to say where because I'll get in a lot of trouble. In fact, I'm going to just stop it there. Let's just say she had a face for radio. So like a lot of the folks who do the car dealership things, it's like they love. It's like me right now. Love to hear myself talk. So folks, till next time. My name's Joe. His name's Brian. Thank you, everyone. Happy drafting. One more day to go. We'll see what else the Steelers do, and we'll get back at you later or early next week. Until next time, we encourage everyone out there to be safe, be good, and we'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.